Thank you, Dr. Rishikesh, for giving me this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be around all of you and speaking on this forum. And I feel so proud, in fact. So, I would be talking on challenges in managing refractory visual impairment in children. And one of them is cerebral visual impairment. This, a child comes at 5 years of age with the following concern that there is poor vision, squinting of both eyes, there is a head posture, and very poor performance in school. Going back to the birth history, we find that the child is a preterm baby but had 2.5 kg but did not cry at birth. He was admitted for NICU for 10 days. There was a history of perinatal hypoxia with seizures. MRI was diagnosed with HIE stage 2, and the MRI showed there is hyperintensity areas in bilateral cerebral hemispheres in frontoparietal and temporooccipital areas. But it was referred to an ophthalmologist, but the fundus was seen as written within normal limits and advised that the child should be followed up later. So remember that the pearl is the diagnosis of CVI should be suspected in all children with unexplained bilaterally decreased vision. Like this child had vision of 624 and nothing else in the in the ocular finding was seen except for the strabismus. So there was an importance of doing an MRI and also for early intervention. So the protocol is whenever you see a subnormal vision, detailed ophthalmic examination, check whether it's an ocular disease or an abnormal anterior pathway. So if both are these, then if they're both any of these are affected, it's not CVI. But if it's a normal eye examination and disproportionately subnormal vision, suspect CVI, do a neurological evaluation, take a proper history, and do a neuroimaging. So we all are now by now know what is CVI. It is deficiency in the function of vision and it is visual impairment and it is affecting the processing centers in the brain, especially posterior laterally geniculate body. So there are two streams, the dorsal and the ventral stream, which are responsible for our vision, which is a neural association. We need to do MRIs. I would focus again and again that we need to emphasize on doing MRI. And nowadays there is so much availability, and it is quite safe in doing MRIs in children. A DTI scan with a 3D view of optic radiations can analyze the white matter tracks and locate the damage in these tracks. So it is important for us to know whether there is any paucity or there is any problem in the bright occipital lobe, if there is in the periventricular area, if there is hyperintensity, if there is thinning of the corpus callosum, because all these are important for us in localizing the lesion and then treating the child. So in what we found in our series of our patients that posterior parietal lobe was involved in 50% of cases, followed by in the periventricular lesion. So, and we know that periventricular locomalacia is often associated with impaired visual processing. So once we find out this, it is important to treat. So how do we, in the OPD, we do not have any sophisticated instruments. We can just make one, this is made by our own carpenter, where we have made it like a Lia puzzle. And we find that even the vision of the child was 6'9", in a hemiparesis child, right hemiparesis, we find that the child is not able to properly position the objects wherever it has to be put. So this cognitive problems are something which we need to address, and this will interfere with the writing skills of the child. So the next is what we want to know is whether there is optic ataxia. So if you see now in this child, the above picture, the child can orient the slot, the slit by turning the card to the correct position before moving it to the, so it's positioning the slot and putting it directly. But here in a case of a CVI child, we find that the child is not able to put even a small card into the slot by after orientation. So this simple test can help us in diagnosing that there is a problem in the posterior parietal lobe. The other is the temporal lobe, which is important for recognizing facial expressions and for recognizing shapes, objects, numbers, and letters, which is so important in our schooling. So CVI is so different from ocular visual impairment because what we see is the absent, or we find that there is atypical visual reflexes. Here is a child with a squint, but he can reach out to objects. But here, the same age child, you put an object in front of him, but there is an atypical and absent visual reflex response. And the unique visual characteristics, you find that they are not just light gazing or there's a non-purposeful gaze like that because of the delayed milestones. So all these children, we need to examine them. See, we find that there is head holding is not there, all the delayed milestones, and they need to have a proper referral. So then other common thing what we find is that they have gaze preference. Dr. Tanmay very nicely pointed out how we need to check these saccades and the pursuits. See, this child prefers the right gaze, does not take his eye beyond to the left gaze. And this is very important when, especially when we tell to the trainers, to the rehabilitators or to the special educators, that the child needs to be trained to look to the other side. So this is another important, and this will help, this will be done by checking the fields. Other this is the very slow, like this is a cataract operated child, but after, even after the cataract surgery, we find that there's very the child is slow in looking at the object. When there are a lot of clutter of objects, they have difficulty in viewing in a complex environment. So this is very important to diagnose CVI. Then color preferences, whenever we treat them, we treat these, we make them, they have red and yellow, which is most common colors which they like, and that is how they have to be treated. So the key to understanding how the children with CVIC is seen in their characteristic behaviors. So how do we then identify and how do we plot them? So this is, we can plot them, we can say what is their color preferences. Do they need movement, like a movement of a target to see, or do they see it without any movement? Is there visual latency? Is there any field preference? And is there light gazing? So all these are important in the management, and we need to treat very much earlier. So I won't cover this. This is already being covered by Dr. Tanmay. Lia gratings, I feel, is if we can we can measure vision, this will be the ideal, because most of the children with CVI, what we find is that they can only see. Sometimes they don't even see at the beginning these the paddle with the highest score. So this is what is so important, that we measure the vision and see the improvement with this. Refraction again is very important. We need to make these child wear glasses, because we find even during therapy that if the child wears the appropriate glasses, because sometimes they do have a lag, then they can see much better. And so the therapist also says that please ensure that the child wear the glasses properly. So this helps them to see better and perform their task better. So this is a child who came not looking at the mother, not fixating, not following light. So how will we go about it? So this child had MRI done, BP done, and was confirmed case of CVI. And then this child was referred to an early intervention department, where they did the stimulation, intervention, they did a water play. They after over the period of time in increasing sessions, the refractive correction was given. They were given more and more tougher tasks to do, and then the child now at presently at 4.6
I think Dr. Suma is facing some technical errors.
Dr. Suma?
is not, BP just tells us it's absent or present, but we need to measure the CVI range. It tells us how much is the child affected. So one is zero, that means tells us like just you observe the child, what information we get, what we get through interview, and what we get through direct contact. And then we plot them, that whether this child, whatever is present at this moment, like a CVI range 1 or 2, this is available, and the apps in this the CVI range app, or if you go to Perkins site, it is also available. And you can plot exactly what the child, like as the child is range 1 and 2 and progress to range 1, 3, and 4. And so every visit after say 10 sessions, the parents do ask what has improved in the child. So here you can plot and say, okay, now the child has become more consistent in the visual responses. First, there was minimal visual response. He only was responding when we were around, or child was responding with prolonged latency period, or only when near the child was responding. But now in 3 and 4 range, the child has come to 3 and 4 range. Now the child, the latency so this is important. And so we want to bring the child to a CVI range of 9 to 10. So in every child, this is plotted after the sessions. The sessions are the early vision stimulation by all these techniques, and then they are plotted in the graph or the CVI range, and that's how we tell the parents the improvement. Now, strabismus is also associated once the child has improved, like when we say when the dust settles, means when the therapist and the special educators and have found out we examine the squint has to be corrected. So this we whether it's an esotropia or an exotropia. So then we measure up to stable deviations for 3 to 4 times, and then we measure the squints. So we do find there's an improvement. You do the surgery before, and if you do the surgery and you see them before and after the surgery, we do find that there is an improvement in their handwriting. When they find, parents do say that the children have started walking in a line, they do not fall more often. So this is very, very crucial when treating these children. So I conclude by saying that CVI represents a spectrum of disability, and we should suspect in all children with unexplained bilaterally decreased vision, even if there are no overt neurological problems. And it's a multidisciplinary service, but most important, what we require is the parent support. Thank you.